Hey, it's Aaron, and today I'm going to do a quick interior walkthrough in a 2023 Volkswagen ID.4. This is the standard model, which is new this year, has a slightly smaller battery and is a little more affordable. Otherwise, really hasn't changed much, but I want to do a walkthrough because I haven't done one in a couple of years. There aren't any significant changes that I see in here except for one or two things like the infotainment screen have changed as far as what's standard. So let's just get started. I'll just do a fast one. There isn't a whole lot to look at, and I'm not going to dwell on a lot of it. I have a 2021 walkthrough, and that interior is pretty much the same. I'll link to that if you need more detail. Usual spot on the door is where we'll start. So you see over here, you got your windows here. Now, in order to run the rear windows, you push this, and then these run those back ones. And then you can either push it again and come back up front, or it just comes back up to the front after a few seconds if you haven't touched these. Up here is your side mirrors. That's what I'm looking for, side mirrors. It distracted me because this started glowing again because I touched it. Anyway, right here, if you turn this all the way around to the left, maybe, there you go. Then, so you rotate it all the way around to the left, you end up with side heat. Otherwise, you're just going through right there. So this middle spot between those two turns everything off. And then up here is your door locks. Right here, and your child safety right there. So the door lock here, you push it, it locks the doors. You push it again, it unlocks the doors. The door locks are really quiet, so you may or may not actually hear them. Over here, just ahead of that, there's the door handle right there. Just ahead of that stuff is just your lighting controls mostly. You also have your defrosts right here. They're not over there where you would expect to see them. So something to get used to. But you can see your lighting mode right here, and then your fog lamps right here. And then you can see these will light up with what's going on. See, I just turned the lights on, so that lit up. Now up here is your first of the vents. And all of them pretty much look and work like this, up and down as usual, back and forth, and then all the way over to the right to close them. Now, let's look at the steering wheel. It's cockeyed, and the car's not running. There we go. The car shuts itself off pretty much on the regular. There we go. The car will turn itself off if you put it in park and just sit. Now, if you have climate and stuff on, that will stay on for quite a while. Your radio will stay running and all of that, but all of this will shut off. So just, kind of get used to the idea that this shuts off. Now, I have a couple of issues. Before we get onto the steering wheel itself, I have a couple of issues with this. It is cool that it's attached to the steering column. The problem is if you're fairly tall like I am, you're seeing it like this. And that means that it feels like a lot of it is cut off. Now, you're not missing any information, but it feels that way because you're looking at it like this. So that's kind of an annoyance. Normally when I move the steering wheel, it's so that I get a better view of this, not really for my knees or anything. But the screen itself is pretty useful. Easy to understand. Everything is straightforward. Most of it is run off of the infotainment screen. So the stuff you're seeing here is set over here. You don't really do it from a steering wheel like you would driver controls. So that's worth noting. And then also this is your gear shift lever way up here on the right of the steering wheel, like a little horn sticking out on the right of that screen. You can see you rotate it up to go to drive, back to go to reverse, tap it in the middle and it'll end up in neutral. And then on the very end right here is the parking button that puts it in park. And then your gears are always shown right here. Now to the steering wheel. Over on the left, that's cruise control stuff for the most part. So you turn it on and off up here. You set resume, you put on the lane keeping, and this works pretty well, actually, by the way. Holds you in the center of the lane pretty well. And then your up and downs and so on. The middle button right there, that's your distance for the adaptive cruise. Down here is your mode button for what type of cruise control you want. So you can have regular cruise control, you can have adaptive cruise control, and then you can have the lane keeping and all of that as one unit. You can just do it right here, and that becomes the default until you change it. Makes it a whole lot easier to just turn it on and start using it, and have it work the same way every time, instead of fiddling around with, having to choose one every single time. So over here, you have mostly infotainment controls. So you can see up here, you have your voice control, which is okay in this car. It's mostly about, it's menu prompts. So you kind of have to wade through those. It's not like some of the newer systems where you can just talk to it. But it'll get there. And then you have tracks up and down, but they're backwards. So this actually goes to the next one. This is, this actually rewinds. This goes to the next one. I think that's right. Anyway, I might be wrong, but just fiddle with them. You'll get the idea. And your volume controls right here. Now, one of my complaints in this car is that there is no physical volume knob. It's the same kind of buttons over on the infotainment as you have right here. Seems kind of dumb, but really, when I want to crank it, I want to crank it. I don't want to go crank it and push the button a bunch of times. It's just not as cool. So there's the volume, and then down here is they labeled it as view because mode is already used over here. But this is really just mode, like where do you want to get your info from? And what it does, it doesn't change that. What it does is it changes what's on the screen. So when you push these buttons, it just basically changes what it's focused on and what it's showing on that screen. But the actual stuff that's on that screen, you decide what that is over here. The stuff you just saw is pretty much the defaults. I haven't changed anything. I fiddled with it for a while and then I shut it off. Or put it back to default. Got to get rid of that. This is the infotainment screen. Now, this large screen that you're seeing right here, it's now standard across the board for all models, including the standard model of the ID.4. So this is kind of the wait screen. This is what happens when you push this off button over here. When you turn it back on, you get this, which is kind of the default. Honestly. So what you're looking at is you can see the map, then you can see that it has what my audio is. So the charging state, if you want to push that and talk to it, look at it, telephone for talking to people, and then some climate and other things over here. Now this is basically the app menu. So you can bring that up and do that. A lot of times this will become an X and that turns it off. In this case, it just goes back. It's like a back button. And then you can see when you swipe, there's another one. So here's what's happened in the last, well, since I turned this on 20 minutes ago to go do some photos and stuff. So you can see those statistics are. Over 418 miles. Here's the efficiency that the car is showing. The efficiency numbers on here are fairly close to real world. The real world was actually slightly better. I was getting a little tiny bit more than 3.7. On my measurement, I was getting pretty close to 3.8. So that's rounded down, or it just calculates it differently. And then you can see over here, you can do some other stuff. There's different users and other things that you can set up so that you can have it personalized for whoever's in the car. Below the big screen is this, which, there we go, that's a little better. So this is the on-off button you saw me use before. Whoops. Which keeps playing the radio. But anyway, well, it's streaming off my phone, but you get the idea. It goes to kind of this screen. Now, there's a bunch of different clocks. I just happen to like the clocks with no numbers. But there's a lot of different clocks. Every one of these screens actually is a different version of a clock. So I'm not going to show it to you. You get the idea. And then temperature controls right here and right here. I have the climate turned off because it blows and it would get on the microphone and cause problems. And then you can see your volume control there. Down here, this is the parking menu. So when I push that, you end up on the parking page. One of the changes this year is that the assisted parking is included in all packages, so it is standard by default, which is pretty cool. The semi-automated parking system is really good in this. So, I mean, relative, right? All of them are really good, but compared to trying to parallel park on your own when you're not very good at it, this is great. And it's, it's a bragging point. People get really amazed when they can sit in the car and watch you not touch the steering wheel and park the car. It's pretty cool. Over here, this is to bring up the climate menu. So right now I have it turned off. You turn it on right here. It takes a minute to learn that. So if you haven't used one of these before, when you first get in and the climate's not on, you might panic being like, how the hell do I turn this crap on? You just, that one button up there. When it's on, it's not glowing. See that? So, and then all your settings, they're pretty straightforward and obvious. Heated seats and steering are also standard now. So, and then over here, what did I say this was? I said it was the parking menu, right? Yeah, it is. So this was the exit, that's why. Okay, and then over here is your driving assist, which is basically what I was talking about with the cruise control stuff over there. There we go. But over here is how you can set what you want it to be doing for you. So you can go through all of this stuff. It will park, or it will help to drive for you and all of that stuff. Pretty useful system. And then you X out of that. Now over here is the mode button, which is your drive mode. So most of the time it's been in sport because I like sport. But most of the time you probably should be in eco or comfort, probably eco, if you want to maximize your mileage. But honestly, I don't know how much of a difference it makes. I did my highway loop test in this in sport mode, and you saw the results. So anyway, and then your Dukes lights are right in the middle. Down below that, couple more vents. Down below that, drink holders. And behind here, this is a neat little cubby with this, which is a kind of a flexible thing. You put your phone behind it. This is the wireless charger. So you have your phone behind it, and it clips it into place and holds it. Pretty neat, except makes it so you can't see the screen. So if seeing the screen is important to you, either don't use this or screencast, which is built into that. Now, over here, you see a couple of USB-Cs, and then you have this. Now, you can drop a phone right here, which my spouse has been doing. She puts her phone right here while we're driving. And then there's a cubby. Pretty good size for the size of the vehicle. And the interior. I said I wasn't going to dwell on it, so I'm not going to. I will show you what the cargo space and stuff looks like. The photos you're seeing from the cargo space are actually from the 2021 model. I didn't take any photos of it with this one, but it's exactly the same. That's pretty much it. That is the 2023 Volkswagen ID.4. Very quick walkthrough on this interior. Not a lot to point out, and most of it is unchanged from 2021. That walkthrough is linked below. So, all right, that's what I got. This has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon. Subscribe.